All right, well, this week you get fucking two. Sit your podcast down, episode 9.5. Some
Nine
shit
and a
went
half.
down. We need to discuss. All right, as usual suspects. We ain't broken up yet. Ain't nobody got the back and got crazy. All right, we got G, Reek, McFly. So Trouble in Paradise, or maybe I don't know, Escape from Hell, depending on how you look at
I was
it.
about to say it ain't that no more.
The Joe Budden Podcast, fucking up, man, fucking up. And first off, I just want to say number 1, 2, and 3, fuck Joe Budden. That's my take. Fuck him. But also, these boys are stupid. I agree with you to that extent. They stupid. They should know what they're dealing with. I'll give you that part of this. For you that don't know at home, paying attention, it appears that Joe Budden has once again fallen out with his, I guess not co-host, his employees, as I guess he would look at them. Rory and Mal are once again on the outs, and Joe Budden is pissed with them for demanding to be treated like human beings, for demanding to be treated like partners. He's like, fuck you, you don't do shit, you ain't about this life. To which Ack and others were like, yeah, man, fuck Joe right about that shit. Anyways, so we all have our takes. I've talked a lot. You guys, what's your take on this? How do you feel about him kicking his boys to the curb?
Well, I'm saying like I see both sides of the argument. You know, I see Joe's side because Joe is his platform, it's his show, and you know he can do what he wants with it. Plus, we also know Joe has a track record of pretty much diminishing anything he gets his hands on. So,
True.
him treating his friends the way he has is not a shock to me. But on the other side, if I've been led to believe that I'm more of a partner to you than an employee, because if I'm going on the show, the way Joe is treating Rory and Mal, he's treating them like he would treat Savon. To me, that's how he looks at them. All y'all are basically the same. Now, if I'm Rory and I'm Mal, why would I feel like I'm in the same place as Savon?
Because you're an employee.
But I wasn't led to believe that.
Yo bad.
And the whole thing is you can't act like I don't bring anything to the table. So the show can go on without Savon and nobody would care.
I would, like, you know what it seems like to me, and I want to get to your point too. The whole employee shit is kind of weird because even if you're the owner, like, okay, let's say football. Yeah, all this shit revolves around, let's say, Jerry Jones at the fucking Cowboys, right? But you got to keep the talent happy. Like, they are the talent. By definition, they are the talent. So they're not just an employee, right? I don't think Jerry Jones looks at Dak Prescott as just the employee. Some people in that building are a fucking employee and replaceable, right? But when you're the talent, like, you need somebody, no offense to, like, you know, whoever does the ticket sales. No offense to that person who does that shit. There's 100 of you. There may be 1 million of you that exist. There's only one Dak Prescott. Not to say he's the greatest fucking quarterback. I'm just saying, like, football, like, to be that talent, that level talent is an elite talent, which is why in those situations, the talent can dictate a lot more, even without the ownership shit. They can dictate a lot more. Oh, Aaron Rodgers wants to fucking leave. Oh shit, our whole shit's different now. It ain't just, well, fuck you, get out. I get another quarterback. No, the fuck you won't. Not that good. So I mean, that's when you say employee, even in that sense, they're owed more respect. I'm gonna shut up and go and let you go.
The thing is, I get where y'all coming from. Y'all are operating under logic and y'all have morals and principles that y'all believe in. I'm not saying Joe doesn't, but we know his morals and principles are jaded and corrupt. Like, everybody knew this. Everybody that worked with Joe know this. And I expect them boys to know even more because they arguably spend more time with him than most people. I mean, even listening to like Ian and Parks talk, like, I'm not doing no contract with Joe. You crazy? Why would I do a contract with Joe? And these boys he been with since probably before he knew Mal and all of them. Or he at least he knew closer because he's done business with them. They've done business longer.
So wait, if they don't do a contract with him, what do they do a contract with? Like, what do they do?
Well, I know he has to pay Parks, for the engineering and the house and all that stuff.
Yeah, Parks probably just has a flat fee.
Yeah, Parks is like, I'm cool. I'm just gonna keep doing what I've been doing. Nothing really changes for him. But if you're Mal and you're Rory, because people who don't know the podcast from the beginning, I think Mal can come in and say, and it's like McFly was saying, you can't pay all the players the same. So Mal can easily make a claim is like, this show was dead. This podcast was dead before I came in here. Like it was done. I saved this podcast. Like it was trash because it was him, it was Joe, Rory, and Marty the Body, and it sucked. And then they fired Marty the Body, and it got worse. Nobody was listening. Mal can sit there and say, I saved this. Rory can come in there and say, okay, I've been here since day one. I brought in these people because the other thing Joe tries to make it seem like is like neither one of them have brought anything to the table besides him. And that I don't believe.
But did they build it though? And
Rory can say he built it because he was there from day one.
I don't think you can say that.
Episode 1, out this podcast later, Rory is there.
I don't think you can say that Joe built it, honestly. I don't think you can say that. Okay, did you build Patreon, Spotify, YouTube? You built fucking nothing. Let's just start there. Like this idea that and I heard academics talking and fuck him too. Like you don't understand how this is how business is built. Shut the fuck up. Y'all built nothing. You built nothing. You went to a platform that existed, trolled and shit. I can at least give Joe this. He had a music career, whatever. But again, he had a talent. Think about this. This is the reality of the shit. Joe was the talent earlier in his career. He went to somebody with a bigger platform, with bigger money, used that platform to grow his own brand. So, like, even in the sense of how he came up, he used what he was a part of to build his own shit. So now that Mal's become a name, so to speak, and Roy's become a name, so to speak, they're trying to build up their own shit. Why would you, not understanding, having came from being the talent, being told the same shit you're telling them? You didn't build shit. Well, neither did you. How the fuck do you come to them now and say, well, how the fuck you ask me for? And here's the thing. You can keep it a buck. Yo, you know what? Here's the thing. You won't give me a piece of this, right? But companies back in the day used to give stock options all the fucking time. You trying to tell me that you can't have 80% and these motherfuckers can't get 5 apiece, 10 apiece? Get the fuck out of here.
My thing is, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But again, you're applying regular logic to internet logic. To logic, you're applying it to things that have numbers that
logic is
that nobody
on the internet.
Okay, well, then go live on the internet. I mean, things they don't even know how much a stream is worth. They don't know how much a YouTube view is worth, right?
And Joe gets mad at them for asking.
They should know how much YouTube viewers. They should know how much a YouTube view is worth because it's common. You can go find that shit.
But it's not because it depends on the segment you're in. It depends on some stuff.
There's some variables to that.
And you could be in the same segment, do the same numbers, and get paid different.
Right. Or I mean, and the thing is, it could be a situation like Rory, or mainly Rory, because I think he's mad at the most. Like finds out how much you're making, or trying to find out how much you're making, and say, I want a bigger piece. Because I think Joe is trying to make it seem like they asked for equal parts and all of it. I don't think they did. But he's saying, like, I would like a piece of this. I've been there since day one. I grew the brand with you. You know what I mean? Like you look at the $1 million worth of game. We all know Gilly is the bigger name between Gilly and Wallow. But would Wallow be wrong for asking, like, if they had that type of relationship, should I get a little bit more? Can I get a piece of the YouTube? You know what I mean? Like,
you wouldn't be wrong, but they've shown history of Joe has shown history of unstable decisions.
That is a fact.
And I'm not gonna ignore that in this. I'm not gonna ignore that if everybody who don't know him see it, if people who've worked with him see it, these are arguably the two closest niggas that you have to you in the last few years. Like, they have group chats together. He randomly disappears from talking. He talks about how he avoids them. Like, y'all don't know this nigga by now?
I
You signed
agree.
the contract with this nigga?
No. I agree to everything you're saying, but just because we know he's an asshole doesn't excuse him from being an asshole.
My analogy earlier, if you know your friend is a crackhead and your friend steals and you leave your friend alone with your stuff, or you leave your friend in proximity of things that he could damage and that shit come up damaged, then it's gonna be like, fuck you hanging around with that crackhead for.
Listen, I hear that, but in the same sense, and I think we all can have an experience about this close to this. At the same time, when it's somebody that you know, family, friend, or close, whatever, you think, all right, maybe they'll leave my shit alone. And it may be a dumb thing to think, but it happens all the time. Oh man, cousin so on that shit again. Let him come in the house, get a plate of food, whatever. And then something happened. But people always tend to do it because you assume, or you figure it's never happened to me yet. Throughout all the shit that's been going on, he hasn't crossed me like that. I would assume to this point he's never really crossed them like that. Maybe others that were on the outside of the circle, but they're like, yo, we on the inside of the circle. We should be good, right? We're the ones that's fighting with you, right? And I think from their perspective as well, they're like, yo, I'm not even asking for a whole lot. So they probably thought like, yo, we just said, could we get a piece? Can we have some equity? So if you sell or get some huge deal, we just get chopped out a little bit. It's literally called the Joe Budden Podcast, the Joe Budden fucking network. We get it's your shit. And it's funny, if y'all listen to like the Michael K show on Yes or whatever, they've talked about this exact same shit. Like idea, like it's called the Michael K show. It's a sports podcast and shit. They understand it's your shit, but they're just like, they also understand, yo, we're an integral part of it. And on the air, he's like, of course you guys are, because you make this show what it is. So the fact that Joe's like, yo, fuck you, I don't need that. I just
it's shady, yeah.
It's shady as fuck.
I don't even know, like I think, and this is super speculating. I don't even think they're bringing in that much money. I'd almost argue they're probably, with all the stuff they're trying to do, they might be operating at a loss. Like, I don't know what sponsor they have, but like podcasts don't bring in that much money. Like their biggest deal was probably partnering with somebody that would sponsor their crap, right? Like alone on YouTube, you're not bringing, I'm looking at the views on their channel. Those views don't bring in that much money. For people who made an accident and leaked their stuff, arguably don't bring in like enough money to be like going around, you know what I mean?
Nah.
So I'm wondering how much of it is because Joe obviously does other stuff. Joe obviously has other money coming in, and I don't even know
as a worker. So the thing is, you know what I mean? Like, so he's working for other companies. So the other thing is, I think you can say like they should know better, but at the same time, when has Joe ever been on this side of the coin? So to them, if they're going based off what he preaches all the time for years, artists should get more. He's always been bucking the system. And now that he's in the other chair where he is the system, he's acting like he didn't say any of those type of things. He's treating them like how he complained about those companies treating him. And it's like,
yeah, you can't complain about that shit after you do
right.
it.
So it's like they're looking at him like, okay, well, you've been like on some old, forget the contracts and artists should get all this other stuff, and then you literally fired me for asking for a piece of the YouTube. And the YouTube views ain't like he's Joe Rogan. So it ain't like, he's sitting there thinking like he's on a certain level that he's on. I mean, his other podcasts on his networks are terrible. They don't do anything as far as numbers. Mm-hmm. And Roy can make and Roy can make the claim, okay, here's the value I bring. Your highest viewed as far as the other podcasts that you bring in, all the girl podcasts that you've been doing, the highest viewed one was the one that I was on as a guest. So you can sit there and say, like, you can't claim like I don't bring any value to this. You brought in people that bring it. You brought in Karen Civil and nobody watches her stuff. Like it's like I think Rory knows that Joe's dumb. Like people might think he's smart, but he's dumb. So just based on the fact you're coming in with Joe Budden Network, most of your viewers and listeners are men, and then you bring in two women podcasts. Like that's just dumb in itself.
Well, he doesn't. He again, he's overthinking it. He's figuring like, I got the men market. Let me just dip into the women market. Know your audience first. But you have to shift that. You don't just do it off rip. It just doesn't work.
Right. He could have had Mal doing a sports podcast, Rory doing his own. But like if Joe was thinking like that, you know what I mean? But the other thing is, I also believe that Joe feels like because it's his network and because it's his podcast, that any idea that comes in, he's going to feel like he owns it. So I think Rory knowing that, I think this is where they actually do know Joe. I think Rory knowing that he's okay, I need to get a piece of all this because whatever I come in with, you're not going to let me feel like it's mine. You're going to feel like you own it. So
should he though? If it's on his network, should he though? I mean,
yeah, but Joe is also the one saying like, y'all don't bring anything, y'all not creative, y'all don't do any ideas. But if I do bring you one of my ideas, you're going to take it. So it's like, instead of me, since you are going to take it, and we probably know that, why can't I just get a piece of it anyway?
Why couldn't they just do what Savon did and make their own podcast on the side? They can still be a part of the regular one, but just go record one day a week.
And they could.
I think they're going. I hope they will.
I think they should,
unless it's in their contract.
Fuck that. I still do it.
But then again, like if he's saying I'll sue you if you go do your own podcast, it might be in their contract that they couldn't do it.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Call it something else. Call it a live stream.
I don't think you can't stop a podcast. There's no way you can stop that shit. You can't. Unless every single version, unless you're saying you can't record yourself talking to a friend and put it online. Unless it's down to that specific of a detail in the fine print, and maybe it is. I mean, Joe, I'm sure got good lawyers, potentially. But I come back to the idea of like it's contradictory, and I get your point, G. Yeah, of course, we know he's kind of like fucked up a little bit, and he's gonna do shit like this. But I can't excuse it just because I know he be on shit. I can't excuse it just because I know he does shit like this. I can't.
It sounds like I'm defending him. I'm more holding Mal and Rory more accountable, right? He can't stop Rory from doing Duce Palooza. He can't stop Rory from doing other things. I'm not saying that they should have to. I'm not saying that is their vision, but I guess I expect for this long they would have built something else, and maybe they have, and we just don't know about it. Maybe it's behind the scene deals that they invested in. I don't know what it is, but if they're trying to be in a public platform or in the public eye, I would assume by this long they should have spun everything. They've had enough viral moments to spin something, to give me some merch or something. I mean, I'm just holding them accountable. Like I'm not saying Joe's right, but like if it's gonna come to this, if you worried about your cut, honestly, I'm not even gonna act. I mean, I don't know Roy's background. I mean, I know Mal's background just from what he says, but like honestly, you got a platform where people listen. Like regardless of if views are dropping or rising, people listen. People are interested in your story because you're a part of a thing that goes viral frequently because Joe does dumb shit. Spin that. I'm just holding him accountable. That's all. I mean, I'm not saying Joe is right, but
that's fair. I think at this point, with what they have, I mean, Mal especially, again, I didn't even know his background until we were talking about this shit, but Mal especially, y'all should have something that y'all should be able to walk away from this shit and be like, okay, he fucked us over. Number one, to your point, kind of expect that he may do some shit like this. He's not the most stable motherfucker out there, so you should kind of respect it a little bit. But then the other part of it is, all right, I'm on this platform. What am I doing with it? Right? If I'm not getting other checks from it, why not? If I'm not branching out to do guest spots, if I'm not branching out, as long as it's not against my contract to do other podcasts, I should have been doing that shit to grow my own brand separate of him. Because again, we see it all the time. When you have the platform, you can get into different shit. So I definitely think that's fair. Like I started off by saying, they kind of dumb because shouldn't be hoping he just gives you a part of the bag, considering the fact that doesn't seem to be his MO. He's not just giving out the bag to people.
His name is on it. Like listening to Act talk about the percentages he was trying to pull from Complex, and his name wasn't even on that.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's like,
kidding me?
but I'm saying I don't think Rory and Mal like knew about that. But that's the thing, like you saying, G, like you have to understand, like this dude is like Joe is a former drug addict, might still be a drug addict. Like he's just an unstable person. Like he gets mad at companies and he's asking ridiculous numbers. So you can imagine how he's going to be for his own. And the companies are looking at him like, okay, what do you do besides work here? So for the same thing, he's saying like, Mal,
work here.
Like you come here, you talk for a few hours, you go home. And that's all Joe is saying about what Mal and Rory do. But at the same time, when he's in those positions, he's like, I need more because you're watching it because of me. And I'm bringing this to the table. I'm bringing that.
He's a champion for the talent. That he has to be a champion for his own talent. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Yeah, you have to.
Do you get mad at the better negotiator, or do you get mad at yourself for not negotiating better?
I think with him,
I get both.
Negotiate anything.
That's what I think too. I think they don't let him negotiate. They don't let. I think he was mad that he couldn't negotiate, but then he didn't let them negotiate, which I think is fucked up. Because he took again. He had the same sense. He probably came into Spotify, took the dude that they gave him, thinking, all right, I gotta prove myself first. I prove myself. You see the numbers. I'm doing numbers that no one else is doing, according to Joe. And then be like, yo, so I should get paid on that. And they're like, yeah, fuck you. We'll find somebody else. He did these same things. I just think like that's why like when Act cops on it, it's just like, it's bullshit. That's all
right.
bullshit.
And the thing is, Academics has stories where like at Complex where Joe was trying to negotiate for him. And Academics like, yo, you stop. You don't negotiate for me. You know what I mean? Like Joe, he's like, one thing that he is like, he tries to control everything. So him not letting them see the numbers, him not letting them see the deals or anything like that, is just showing what type of person that he is. So they're sitting there looking like, okay, we don't know the numbers. We don't know how much you're getting. We could be getting paid more if you're making this, but we don't know what you're making. You're not letting us anything. You're literally telling Mal the podcast is none of your business. I'm in the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of the stars of the show.
That was the most wild thing he said. He said, you told me it's none of my business. What do you mean it's none of my business? Like, you think that makes sense? He said, you think that makes sense? And Mal even said, if that's how you feel, that's fine. But just say that's how you, he's like, he still didn't get it. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. Like,
y'all still operating off of principles and morals.
No, I'm operating off of common sense at this point.
We're operating
principles.
Right. But we also operating off his so-called principles and morals.
Right.
Because these are things that he complained about every deal that he's been in since he's been an artist, podcaster, whatever. So
they're
it's
employees. They're not. You can call them the talent. It doesn't matter if Joe thinks he's the talent. He's the only talent that matters. Again, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm trying to just look at it from his corrupt or whatever point of view.
Well, obviously he thinks he's right. I mean, that's clear. He clearly thinks he's right, and that's fine. And maybe the podcast numbers don't hurt, and he's able to stay up. But just from what I've read and from what I see in the comments, as much as he thinks it's all about him, he fucking need them to. As much as he thinks he doesn't, everyone that hop on will be like, yeah. When they came back, he said, I ain't watched since they left. When you see that shit a couple hundred times in the comments of 1,000 comments, that's a sizable enough chunk to be like,
right.
Maybe let's figure this shit out.
Like it's like he does stuff like so. It's like it's because we're talking business too. So it's just like common sense, business logic. We can't throw it all out the window. Like he said, they can go get their own deal. Well, how am I supposed to know what my deal is? You won't even tell me what my deal is worth with you. So what am I going to negotiate with? Where's my starting point?
That's the other point I was going to say, because Ack mentioned this shit too about how they just show up. They're supposed to show up and do the thing, right? They're not out here negotiating deals and doing marketing and all that. And I think Ack's full of shit. I don't think he does half the shit he thinks he does. But fine. Had you given them the opportunity to do that shit, if you educate them and bring them up to speed what's going on, maybe they can go and negotiate deals, go find advertisers, go be a part of that plan. If you don't let them do any of that shit, you can be like, yeah, I ain't do none of this shit. Was the opportunity given to me? If I don't know the numbers and know the business, how can I go negotiate the fucking business? That's stupid.
I can't
do that shit.
But I just want to go back to let's talk about like how they make the show, right? So like they make the show because of their history, specifically Mal. That's why Mal came in and everything changed. because they have a history that was entertaining to watch, right? Now, if that vibe is gone, like I'm not gonna lie, that one joint they came back, this shit was awkward. It was trash to me. I mean, I get it; they were airing out their differences, but it wasn't a good podcast.
No,
That whole vibe is gone. I honestly couldn't blame them, right? Like if this is the thing that made us where we are, and that feeling is lost because I'm doing shady stuff with the money, because there's some differences behind the scenes.
I think, but the redemption story, if they really aired it out on some real legit redemption story, like talking through the shit, it would be real. It would be fucking highly viewed. That's us. You can save that shit. Most of YouTube is fake. If you can bring some real shit, a real story, I think they can overcome that shit. I just think they don't want to, because the thing is, they came back and Joe doesn't feel no different, and they don't feel no different. That's the thing that happened. They came back and were still like, "Yo, fuck you," and he was like, "Well, fuck yeah," and that's why it was the way it was. Not because they hash it out.
Yeah, like Joe like literally went on air and says he doesn't feel he owes his friends respect. Like that type of person. So it's just like
that's a wild dude.
You know what I mean? So it's just like you can't be mad at Rory and Mal. Like, okay, let me try to get what I can out of this situation, because this dude is crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
and I think they did it knowing. I think especially Rory. I think he did it knowing. All right, if he says "fuck you," then I'm out. But it's a calculated risk. I'd rather be out instead of making you money and not getting any piece of it, or at least knowing what my value is. Everyone should know their value. Everyone fights for that shit. Everywhere you are, whatever job you have, you want to know your value and get paid as close to that as you can. And if you're not, especially by your friend, like, well, fuck them. Like, why deal with them? That's simple.
Do you do business with friends? Is the question. Or I guess they're not friends.
I do business with you fuckers. So I mean, I guess
yeah.
I'm
Joe. I'm on Joe's side if you want to think about the future.
That's fair. It's good to know. It's good to know.
Nah,
in 5 years we'll fall out over the same shit. So it'll be fun. We're not nearly as famous though, so we'll see. Who knows?
Nah, I'm not on Joe's. I don't know, man. I think everybody's an adult, and I think people are. I don't think people are wrong. I just think they are not. They're being emotional about it. I'm not saying y'all are. I think we're looking at it pretty down the middle. But I think most of the internet is looking at it from an emotional point of view, and I just think they're factoring out things that are important to the situation, which is, first of all, their relationship. We don't know their relationship, but I would assume that they should know based on history, right? And this is like the internet. They're in an internet business, and the internet is different. And while people have figured it out, like nobody's really figured it out, because everybody's getting money, but nobody knows what that money is, because that money changes every time you get it, right? And they're actively doing that because they can. Because what are you going to tell them, unless you're yelling as loud as Joe, right? What are you going to tell them? Your stream is worth a fraction of a penny. Now what? Your 8 million views is worth $1,000. Okay. Like, I don't know. Yeah. This is the internet.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah. I also think, Joe's being a little tight with the money because he ain't getting as much as he's telling people.
Probably.
I also think he's also, I get the vibe from him that he's probably living beyond his means right now. So he has to pocket as much money as he can to maintain the lifestyle that he's trying to live. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, he moved from Jersey. Now he's in Manhattan.
I mean, that's strike one and two.
That is a huge difference.
I mean, like, it's like, I just think, Joe, go back to fucking rapping if you want to live like a fucking rapper. Or just be better at it to where you get Jay-Z level money and you don't got to drop verses. I mean, just otherwise, stop being a dick. Like, otherwise, stop being a dick and trying to hold all the money. You can't live like that no more, my dude. Sorry. It's life. Man.
He I could, but they should have saw the signs early.
I think that's fair. That's fair.
They should have, because you notice how his tune changed. Like all of a sudden he was always pro artist, and then all of a sudden he started defending Puff, started defending Jay, he started defending people that he was always against.
Because he thought he was one of them. He is not.
Now he thinks he's one, so he's acting like one of them.
But also on a serious note though, Joe, listen, if you need a podcast to fill in for your network,
you open to it, fuck Joe.
I'm open to
Joe might respect it.
To being a part of that, honestly. And you give me whatever the fucking do you want. I mean, we're gonna follow it at some point, probably in 4 or 5 years down the line. But if you need a podcast, like, we're down. I mean, I'm in New York, so what's up, man? Let's talk to me. All right.
Right. Yeah, we'll fall out with you later.
I just think it's different when everybody got an opinion on it, and I don't know how much money Joe putting up, so maybe he's not putting up no money, but let's assume that he's an owner and he's taking risk. Let's perceive that there's some risk. I think unless you've been in a situation where you're putting up the risk, which I get it, I could scream for the creators all day, but if I'm putting up the money, then I don't know about these creators. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, just like record labels, like I'm paying for everything.
I mean, like, at least I just think with the creating of a podcast, and I mean, obviously something that we can speak to a little bit. I mean, honestly, man, I can't imagine them putting up crazy money for a podcast setup. I'm sorry, like, the fuck out of here.
But
like, you got, I got decent cameras, I got lighting and shit, got a fucking green screen. I mean, and you don't have no green screens. They ain't got that shit to worry about. That's cheap as shit. But you got a couple nice cameras to have a different angle and shit, a couple nice microphones. I mean, everybody uses the same shit. There's like 3 or 4 mics everybody fucking uses. I mean, you trying to tell me that the fucking kid on the block whose mom makes $60,000 a year can get all this shit, but it's somehow some huge expense for you? Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not saying it's not possible.
It's actually cheaper for him. It's like you have Parks, you use Parks' house, and he's an engineer.
Yes.
I mean, so like you paying engineering. I mean, the cameras and shit. The cameras and mics are nothing. And then what? A fucking beat up couch and Maul's tall ass chair. Like, what the fuck else are we paying for here? Come on, my guy.
But okay.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. The candle budget on See the Thing Is must be fucking through the roof. But they got.
But we know in every company the biggest expense is salaries, right? And I'm assuming he's paying them money, and I'm assuming that I don't know how much. Apparently not much if they're asking questions.
Well, he's saying according to him, he's overpaying them. So to him, he feels like they deserve less.
But that's the part. So he has to make that money back, right? Like I don't know if he is making that money back. I assume he must. There must be some sponsorship we don't know about that they're taking. But
I mean, but that's also where on Rory and Mal, what they should fucking know is, okay, in similar scenarios, what are people getting paid? Right? That's where the ignorance on them is. Are you getting paid a lot or are you getting paid a little? Obviously, no stream is the same. Different segments, the view time, the watch time, all the fucking analytics behind the views and shit on the YouTube side of it, I know fairly well, right? I get that. But just ballpark it. What are you making? Oh, if he's giving you like 100K, let's say, and most people are getting like 60, then I mean, yeah, shut the fuck up and smile. But if you know you're getting 100 and most people are getting like, with that level of platform he has, 200, well, then yeah, I'm fucking pissed off. Like, what do you mean? Like, I should be getting more. So, like, I mean, if there's an egregious difference, all the variables in the world don't add up to that. So at some point, it's just like, okay, no, we need to revisit this. And if you bring it to Joe as a supposed friend, and he's just like, fuck you, you ain't do shit, get out. Like, that's not okay. Like, that's the definition of a dick move. I'm sorry, it is.
Did y'all really believe, just before this, that they were part owners of everything?
When Act came out and was talking about how when Joe left Spotify and Joe kept talking about all the numbers and shit, and they seemingly had no real input, it made it seem like they weren't in the fucking room. And when Act said they weren't in the room, I was just like, oh, if you're an owner, you was in that room. If you own 1% of this bitch, you would be in the room. If you don't own 1%, you would not be in the room. And so that made me think, all right, there ain't no way y'all owners. But again, in my mind, maybe they felt like, yo, this is something that we've discussed. I mean, we had kind of a handshake agreement on this. We just haven't put the paper yet. We're trying to work on the Spotify deal first, whatever. Like, who knows what he told them behind closed doors? And I think that's the thing that we can't make a full, determination on. We don't know what he told them. He may have told him, yo, once we get Spotify deal, I'm gonna chop y'all in, boom, 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 boom. Like we gonna wait for that to happen first, so it's on paper. Maybe that's what he told them to get them like to be cool with the fact that we about to get this chunk of money. He pacified them with that shit, thinking, oh, they were good, right? Maybe that's what he told them. Then that falls through, and now they're just like, well, can we still just do that since we talked about it? He's like, fuck y'all, I ain't doing it now. Right? Because the money ain't maybe the bag he thought it was going to be. And I think that's what it comes down to. I think Joe overestimated his own shit. He thought, I'm going to walk into 100 mil. So I'll chop y'all out 10 apiece. And they were like, okay, cool. Yeah. And then that didn't happen. And he walked into, 15 mil. And it was just like, well, I can't really give y'all nothing right now. Like, who knows with the money? I'm just giving numbers. But I think that's what happened. That's what it felt like may have happened.
I think
the whole tune change.
I think, because I think that deal with Spotify, he bet on himself. I think it was a bad bet. I think Spotify was probably like, because I think he undervalued how much traffic Spotify brought him. But and I also feel like those guys, Mal and Rory weren't in the room with him when he's negotiating. So for them, like, we don't know what numbers were being thrown out, because now we have to trust that you're coming back and telling us the truth about what they offer. Which, if I know Joe, I'm not believing him. Just like, because he's always paying, even when the podcast, when they came back, we found out way more stuff from Mal and Rory that Joe said that Joe wasn't acting like he said. You know what I mean? Like the podcast is none of my business. Joe never mentioned anything close to that.
Nope. Joe just made it seem like they were crazy as shit. And that's the problem. He gives one account of things that make him like he's always the one that's being mistreated or taking advantage of me and shit like that. And that's why I can't stand people who, like, you talk about the 4G, about people who clamor for like mental health and shit. Because he's one of those guys. Like, man, you're not gonna treat me this kind of way. I deserve better. No. Don't hide behind that shit. You was an asshole. Don't hide behind I'm getting mistreated and we gotta treat people better and power to the creators when you saying fuck these other creators. No, that's not how that works. It ain't gonna work like that.
It's not right, but it's his vision. And
we can
say that, oh, Mal and Rory helped bring deals to the table. I mean, I'm not even trying to like get into personal thing, but like I've been around people who've brought stuff to the table, and it's like, oh, okay, like you value what you brought to the table because you brought it to the table, but Rick know what I'm talking about. Yeah. We know the value of what you brought to the table. It normally just means more work for me, but
right.
I mean, I'm not even saying they brought something to the table. I'm just saying Joe's a fucking liar. We don't know what they brought to the table.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. We don't know what they brought.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like, I'm just gonna assume, since it's the Joe Budden taking a risk, that it may be his team, the team that's closer to him, getting these things done. Like, I'm assuming Ian probably gets a lot of it done, since that's like his managerism, right? I'm assuming he probably does a bulk of like a lot of this stuff, but he's on Joe's payroll.
And the fact that Parks is like everything and gets paid not enough money is a shame, but whatever.
I think Park gets the nasty award the way he was just like kind of I don't know like their relationship, but like the way he was just like, yep, Joe's right. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it's like, like you get fired too. Like, he's not gonna fire because he needs you. Like
he said he gonna get fired too. I mean, all I'm saying is, and I'll end with this. I just want to see the Rory and Mal podcast. That's all I want to see now. I want to see that. I want to see them actively every day taking shots at Joe, calling him a bitch, saying fuck his show. That's all I want to see now.
Principles. He's not gonna do that. Mal lives on principles.
Man, fuck that. I want to see him do his show and bring on better guests and have them say, man, Joe Budden, he a fucking clown. I hate that dude. That's all I want to see.
It's not their personality, man. They need. I'm not. Joe needs them. They need Joe.
I think we might get that from Rory. Rory might do that.
I don't want to hear Rory.
That's also a problem, because I do think Mal has a. I'd rather hear him than Rory. That's a fact too.
He's a supplement. He's a second member of the Big Three.
He's a Chris Bosh.
He's a Bosh.
Rory is a Bosch. And Rory is a Bosch. You can maybe do it with D-Wade. You definitely can do it with LeBron. You cannot do it with Bosch. You need something else. Nobody wants to watch the Raptors. Nobody wants that. No one believed in the Raptors. Ugh, that's funny. So yeah, I mean, are we gonna go try to audition for the Joe Budden podcast? They seem to need some talent over there. Y'all wanna give it a shot? Send out an audition tape.
Might do better than the girls are doing on the network.
I take the Pepsi challenge against them. Yo, put us on. We're gonna get more people watching this shit than the damn See the Thing Is shit. I ain't watching that shit. No offense to the lovely ladies on that show. Ain't nobody watching that shit. Let's keep it a buck. Nobody cares about that shit.
Just like the WNBA, like, you know, he's like,
no.
And they don't even watch it.
Black women. Protect black. No, Reek went too far. Reek went too far. G, appropriate. G, yes. Protect black women. No.
I'm not.
No, we don't. We're done.
I'm just saying it's the same thing. You know, like women need this, and they don't even watch it.
Like, no, I'm not laughing. It's not funny. I'm not doing it.
Listen. I've been studying the Kevin Samuels Umar beef heavily, so I got mad opinions that aren't my own. So let's go.
Yeah, we're going with this.
All right.
I definitely got opinions that are not my own.
We got to save that one.
So I'm cutting. We're cutting that one right now. We are gonna get to that though. Kevin Samuels and oh man, yeah. Next week we got y'all on that.